Good morning, Winnie. As I promised you on our Zoom video that I was going to finish up our math lesson, which we didn't get time to do. So today we're actually going to do some mental math, which means that you do most of the math in your head without actually writing anything down. We're going to do some mental math, and then we're going to do a little bit of math that you might need a pen and paper for. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. So there are going to be times in this video when I ask you a question, and whereas in class you'd normally just raise your hand, instead I want you to press pause to answer that question, because then I'm going to later answer that question. So after I tell you to press pause, you at home will answer the question, and then you can press play and I'll tell you the answer. Okay? So we're going to start with this guy. If anybody remembers what this is called a 10 frame. I know you guys remember that though. So I am going to draw some dots in these spaces in the 10 frame, and I want you to think about what number of dots are in this 10 frame. Okay, so I want you to press pause right here and tell me how many dots are in this 10 frame. Okay, so there are 8 dots in this 10 frame. Now I want you to tell me how you figured that out. What method did you use to figure out how many dots were in this 10 frame? Go ahead and press pause and tell your parent how you figured out how many dots were in this 10 frame. Okay, so one method that you could use is you could just count all the dots up, right? You could say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 dots in this 10 frame, okay? Or another method that you maybe could have used is you could have counted up 4 and 4. So you could have put 4 in your head, and you could have counted on 4 times. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? Another method that you could have done is you could have just counted by 2s, right? Because you see that there is 2 dots here and 2 here and 2 here and 2 here. So you could have counted up by 2s, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. Another way that you could have figured this out is if you actually counted the number of spaces that had no dots. So how many spaces are in how many spaces are there that do not have any dots in them? Okay, there are 2 spaces that do not have any dots. So I know that there are how many spots in a 10 frame? Pause and tell your parents. How many spots are there in this 10 frame? Okay, there are 10 spots in this 10 frame, right? That's why it's called a 10 frame. But I have 2 spots right here that do not have dots. So what I could have even done is I could have even said 10 minus 2. Okay? And 10 minus 2 equals 8, right? We've already done the work. You don't even have to add it up. Okay? Now, I'm going to draw a separate 10 frame, and we're going to add those numbers together. Okay? This is where you might need a pen and paper. So I'm going to draw this, and you guys can go get a pen and paper if you don't already have one. So here's my next 10 frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, in this 10 frame, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? So up here, I had 8. And here I have 9. Okay? So now I want to add up how many 8 and 9 are. Okay, so I want you to do that in your head or on paper. Okay, whichever one is easier for you. So press pause and add these up. Okay, so 9 plus 8 equals 17. So I could have done this by just, same thing, I could have just counted up how many I have, right? I could have just said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Or I could have, in my head, added the dots from this frame into the empty dots up here. So it would have looked like this. So I need 2 more dots up here to make this a full 10 frame. And I'm just going to X out these dots. So now I know that this is 10. And now I know that I have 7 left. So it must be 17. Okay, so I would just add 10 and 7. 10 and 7 makes 17, okay? You could do this a number of ways, and if you guys have different ways, I'd love for you to comment below to tell me how you figured it out. Okay, now I want you to get a pen and paper, and we're going to actually do some practice with regrouping. So we're going to go on to something completely different. We're going to do practice with regrouping. Okay. Now, hopefully Miss Amby can do this backwards because I'm having to write everything backwards so that you guys can see it correctly on your screen. So if I don't, give me some grace here because it's really hard for Miss Amby to write backwards. Okay, so now we're going to practice regrouping, okay? Now, the easier way to do this is with regrouping with addition. It's a little bit easier, okay? So I'm going to say 25. Oh, that's wrong. 25 plus, let's do 19. Okay, so remember that I always have to start in the ones place, okay? Now, when I'm adding, I don't need to come over here to the tens place and take anything away. I don't need to regroup another 10. Whenever I add and regroup, that's when I tell that 10 to go home, right? Because I have too many digits to go in the ones place. So 5 plus 9 equals, pause, tell your parents, 14. Okay, now I can't put 14 in the ones place, right? I can't do that. I can only put one number in the ones place. So I'm going to leave the 4 and tell that 10 to go home to the tens place. Okay, so now I'm going to add up all of my tens. 2 plus 1 equals, pause, tell your parents, 3. And then I can't forget that I have to come back up here and add this other 10. So 2 plus 1 equals 3, plus 1 more, pause, tell your parents, is 4. So 25 plus 19 equals 44. Now I'm gonna have you do one on your own with your parents. Okay, so the problem is going to be 17 plus, we'll do 33. Okay, No, that looks like. Okay, 17 plus 33. Okay, now I want you to do this one with your parents. So I want you to hit pause and then come back for the answer. So hit pause and finish your work. Okay, now, since you've answered it, and I know that you have, because we're being honest, I'm going to do the work and show you how I did it. Okay, so I'm always going to start in the ones place. So 7 plus 3 equals 10. But I can't put 10 in the ones place. So I'm going to leave the 0 and tell the 1 to go home. Now, 3 plus 1 equals 4. Plus 1 more equals 5. So my answer is 50.